that Rick Steves suggested for lunch. It was one restaurant after another. And I picked one because the specialty was bull-tail stew, which I thought was appropriate. There's a menu that shows all the tapas you can get there for 10 euros. You get about 8 tapas. Bull-tail. And that's a big beer. My husband, as you know, always has to have his local beer. And usually, though, a regular-sized beer was usually smaller than a glass of wine, which was kind of weird. But he has a ham sandwich, doesn't look real appetizing to me, and a Spanish omelet sandwich, and potato chips. And there's olives. There is my bull-tail stew. That was actually the most expensive meal I had on the trip. I think that was around $14. And the restaurants were in the new part of Ronda. And we're going to cross over the bridge. Yep, we're going to go across the gorge pretty soon. First, we're going to look at the gorge a little bit. And Andalusia is famous for the white villages. Now, Rick Steve says that's the place with the best view for having a drink or a meal. But he also said it was kind of expensive. But we went back there for a drink after we walked all around. We said we earned a drink. And a wine and a beer was $4. That wasn't bad at all. So those were trails over on the other side of the gorge. And I'm sure those were some fairly high-priced hotels across the gorge. Now, you're only seeing the top part of the bridge here. And I forgot, senior moment, what year that bridge goes back to, but it's way back there. And then we crossed the bridge, and that's looking back to where we just were. And we didn't catch that there was that stairway going down there to that sort of platform. Now you'll see a little more of the bridge. All the way down there. And there are cactus growing along there. Kind of sour looking. And those high-priced. Now we're over on the other side. There's a tile thing of what the village looks like. Now we're on the other side of those high-priced white buildings. And they are hotels. This is looking in to one. And then seeing the view out the balcony. That's what we should have done. We should have hired the carriage. You could do that for about $30. But we started out walking, and we thought, oh, well, we'll walk. This is nice. And some more of the gorge. But there was more walking than we counted on. And it got so it wasn't quite such easy walking. This was a mansion built in the 1300s, and it's now the city hall. And that was just very pretty. This is the top of the Santa Maria Church, and I was too cheap to pay the admission to go in there, so I didn't. I called those ice cream bar trees. And I saw a picture of what the church looked like, so I just took a picture of what the church looked like. It used to be when you went to all these churches that they just had a dish out to throw in a donation, and now they're charging $7 and $10 to go in, a lot of them. And so I don't always. And we're working our way around. The old part of the city is the old Arab part. And that church of Santa Maria was built on what was a mosque, which was built on what was an earlier church. Little quick hit, that's how the walking got. It got a lot more difficult. But there's 2 dates in Spanish history. You can really wow people by remembering these. 7/11 was when Spain fell to the Muslims, the Moors from North Africa. And gradually, Spain won its way back. But the year that they completed that was 1492, which is also easy to remember because then Ferdinand had been bugging, or Columbus had been bugging Ferdinand for a long time, and Ferdinand says, I can't send you to the New World, I'm fighting this war. Well, finally, they got the war fought, and so that's when he sent Columbus to the New World. And we're coming around the hole, we walked around this hole, but the old part was the Arab part. And most of the time, when the Muslims took over, they knocked down the Christian churches and they built mosques. And so when the Reconquest happened, they knocked down the mosques and they rebuilt the churches. He had been wanting a whole meal of tapas. So there we go. There's some more omelet thing, and pork and salami type, chorizo, and potato chips. And the two wines, the vino blanco and the sangria, all that was like $8. That was a good deal. The place that Rick Steves recommended, unfortunately, was closed on that street, so we just made do with the next best. Now we're on the ship. This is the Royal Caribbean Rhapsody of the Seas. Solarium pool. I love the solarium pools on the ships. And the upper lounge area. Never went up there very often. So, Royal Caribbean, Rhapsody of the Seas. And the atrium. And here we have the House of the Devil. Our inside cheap cabin. So when I said it was $715, no balcony for that. But it was very nice. How much are you in there anyway? And there we started out up there at Malaga. And now we're heading down along the coast of North Africa. And we're going to visit 3 of the Canary Islands. And they're not named for canaries. The Canaries are named for the islands, which are named for the Latin canis or canaris, which has to do with dogs. And so there were a lot of dogs there. And so it got named the Canary Islands. Our first one was Arrecife on Lanzarote. And you do find most of the buildings are white. This is definitely a volcanic island. There are 110 volcanoes and 300 craters on this island. The main city has 100,000 population, and they have an IKEA. We don't have an IKEA. They do. But this was a tour that we signed up through cruisecritic.com, a private tour. And I think it was around $60 for the day, definitely cheaper than the ship's tour. Those aren't real. You're going to see real ones. They do grow grapes here. It's mostly volcanic rock. The eruption was for like over a 6-year period around 1730. But you have a lot of big rock. And then you also have the very fine powdery. They call that volcanic rain. There we go. This camel ride was $6 extra. But we didn't do that one either. But they got a lot longer rides. They got about a 20-minute ride. That other one for $2, you just got up and you got back down. They brought the camels over here from North Africa. Oh, that's lichen. When you have first life growing on the rock, that's usually what it is, lichen. And it's usually, the white is what you start with. And they brought them over because of the terrain with all the volcanic stuff. The roads were worthless, and so the camels could negotiate over this. So they brought a lot of camels. And there's the gal, Nita B. Cruisin'. She's the one that organized the tour. She remembered me from another cruise. I don't believe that. But we've gotten very spoiled by doing these private tours rather than the ship's tours. We do those once in a while, but we try to do the private ones if we can. You have red ash, black ash, and this is a national park. This was an all-day tour. It was very well worth it. There's the bathroom cut into the rock. There's a bus way up there. And there's a picture they showed of how they use them as farm animals. Like they can grow a whole lot. Not really. And if they only have one person, then they put sandbags. Oh, this guy is noisy. Come on. He didn't seem real happy.
Coming back from the ride. About 10 or 15 minutes.
And the whole family. And I'll bet they're from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah. Now we're heading up to higher elevations. But you can see there's just more and more and more and more of this volcanic rock. And they gave us some, and it was hot. And we're going to look down the hole pretty soon. We were glad we were on the bus tour and that we hadn't rented a car here. That's the parking lot for this place up at the top of the hill. And now it's about 250 degrees down the hole there. Fire in the hole. So I'm going to put some down. And here comes the smoke. And poof.
Wow.
But down deeper, they've got a pipe there that runs down 25 feet. And he just poured some cold water down the pipe. And we're going to have our own little geyser here going off. There it goes. And the restaurant is cooking chicken here. Takes several hours. Because it's about 250 degrees there. So. And that's at the restaurant. Trouble is, we didn't get lunch. But that's okay. He had his local beer. That's the most important part. And these are the people waiting in line to get in the parking lot. And among all this black, there was that one mound of white out there. And that's looking down, this is called Fire Mountain. This is one of the biggest craters. And it is smoking. Now this was a lava tube at one time, but it caved in, the roof of it. It was a tunnel. And we have the red and the black. And again, that's one of the biggest craters. And the greenery comes from North Africa, from sandstorms. The wind just blows the sand across the ocean, and it brings along little bits of greenery, and they get started. Now, by law, if the village is along the ocean, the trim has to be blue. If it's an inland village, you have to have green trim on your house. And we stopped here for the view. Black sand beach and red. You have both here. But this was just such a gorgeous sight. No, that's not Lake Erie.
It isn't?
No. Yep, there's some elves there. I usually don't take pictures going into the sun, but that one came out kind of nice. High definition. And some of that sand almost looked green. That was a picture of what they had at the restaurant. Some octopus. Yeah. I've had little ones. I don't think I ever had a big one. In Germany once I had pizza with little octopus toppings. It was very picturesque. They're processing salt because it's very important to the fishing industry there. And we have a couple more villages we're zipping by. Now we're stopping at a winery, and these are wine vineyards, wine bushes. And I call this the Donald Trump method of wine growing, because you have walls around all of it. And it's very windy there, very windy. So they put those there. Now we're at Tenerife. That's where my apron comes from, Tenerife. I couldn't find a purple t-shirt anywhere. So I ended up with this apron because it was cheaper than a t-shirt and it has little purple flowers. That is the auditorium in Tenerife, and it's their main opera house, whatever, concert hall. And it's done, if you've ever been to Valencia, Spain, it's the same architect that did the new Science and Cultural Center in Valencia. It's about as spectacular as the Sydney Opera House, but much less famous. A lot of places now around the world, you have these big graffiti walls. Now, this is in a mall, and we're coming upon Christmas. And so this was a Christmas display in a mall. I don't think we'd find anything quite like this in our malls. And some of them actually move. There's a guy stirring. And he's got chicken. We didn't have a tour plan here. We were going to go to the old town, and I went up to the little tourist office off the ship, and maybe I'm going to pause this for half a second here so I can tell this. We got off the ship, and there was a little tourist setup thing, and so I stopped there to ask where we would get the bus. We were just going to take the local bus to the old town. And she told me, and then she said, here, there was a casino, big sign, right across the street. She said, here's some coupons. You can get free beer and free tapas over at the casino. And it was almost lunchtime, so we went over there. And we were the only people in there, my husband and I. And so we had our beer and our tapas, and we were going out. And my husband's very good at spotting this sort of thing. There was a blinking light on a machine. So he went up to it, and he pushed the blinking light, and there were free games from somebody's bonus, and he ended up with $69. And we still had 2 more coupons left from later on when we could come back and get more beer and tapas. And so we came out of the casino, and it was raining slightly, and a guy came up to us, and a taxi driver, and he said, you want a tour of the city in the old town? And we said, yeah, how much? And he said, $22. And we said, sounds like a good deal. We'll use some of our newfound riches and get out of the rain. And so he's taking us on the tour here. Get that going again. Okay. And we're going through the British section right now. Beautiful gardens. And that looks like a picture, but it isn't. These are the people that after World War II, people just flocked in from the country and built these places just on top of each other in the city. It's just amazing. It doesn't even look real. This is Gran Canaria. That's the cathedral down there. We're heading into Old Town. And there's the old market. We booked them for a 1-hour tour, so